again, guys. Before you start explaining to me why Waffenträger has to be OP, I will tell you why I think it's a bit too much overpowered. I played as Waff 10 times, somewhere around that number, and I didn't lose a single time, and only 2 of these games were close. This is one of them. This isn't my worst game, because in my worst game I had around 4000 HP at the end, and enemies had full power, and there were around all of them with 2 lives, somewhere around that number, and I still won, because at this point I understood how to play Waff to its full potential. Here you will see that I don't know exactly what to do. It's my third game, I guess. You can see I have a problem with shell velocity. I don't know exactly how good it is. I won't use enough special abilities. I will go in the open and lose a lot of HP unnecessary. And all of this makes my performance not bad, but not good either. I still understand what I have to do. I mean, some people will camp somewhere or will be afraid to fight even. And that's the biggest mistake some people make. At least at the beginning you can do whatever you want. You have to be very aggressive, you have to go for them. If they are smart, they will run from you. They won't even start a fight. But if they are not, they will quickly die without any progress, because they do very little amount of damage. At some point around 5th energy upgrade, or maybe a little higher, you have to start respect them. Their damage will be not really very big, but it will cause you some problems later if you will lose a lot of HP. So, in my opinion, it's not about the Alliance team being good, but about Waff being bad if they win. Because if you are smart and if you understand what you are and what you have to do, there is, in my opinion, no way you can lose. Unless enemy team is surprisingly good. Which, when we count 7 random players, is, well, not very likely. If you have, for example, 1 or 2 bad players, this is enough for easy win for Waff, if he is good. Even fully upgraded Alliance tanks die very quickly, because it's always the same number, 2 shells per tank, and you are dead. And it doesn't change during the game. So, even late game is very dangerous for Alliance. I lost few games, not really few, many games, because people forget they are still fragile. It doesn't change your armor or HP pool, it's always the same number, 2 shells. And that's a bit OP, in my opinion. I mean, you should get maybe more armor, maybe a bit more HP points, or you have to nerf a bit Waff. That late game, when smart players understand it's late game, they will camp with the last bots, or they will camp in a place where you can simply come from one direction. That game where I ended with 4000 HP points only, I camped in a corner between buildings and they had to come to me. And it didn't change anything that there were 5 of them and only 1 of me. I was still able to kill them very quickly, and I had HP to take punishment for reload, which doesn't take very long. So all in all, Thunderbolts have to fight against very aggressive Waff in the early game, and later against Waff, which is entrenched in close combat, which is even worse. There are also bots and time limit. And bots at the beginning of the game are not really scary or anything like that, but bots in the late game can deal a lot of damage if you are not careful. I mean, mouse isn't loose, so you have to respect them and understand that they can on their own kill you. You can be also very unlucky with respawn points of both bots groups. I mean, sometimes they are very close to each other and Waffenträger doesn't have to go anywhere, he can camp somewhere between them and he will kill both teams going for these bots. Of course you can deal with that too, but it will cost you more tanks and more time. And time in many cases is the main problem, because you have all the energy upgrades and you have some time, but if Waffenträger has a lot of HP, it's still a loss, because you still need a lot of time to deal with his high HP pool. When I learned how to play better Waffenträger, I slaughtered enemy team twice. Once I killed all of them, and second time I didn't kill only one of them. Because he was running from me, decided to not to give to me a victory, clean victory. I was using abilities more, I didn't lose as much AP. I learned that killing bots is only the first part and you have to pick up energy pack later. So I was using that fact to kill people who came for it. Sooner or later, if I had the chance to watch, for example, bots and energy pack 2. You can of course leave it for later, but it means you will waste more time to finish bots and you have to fight better bots with the same damage as before. Honestly, the only problem I have with Waff is gun depression, because everything else is at least good. Maybe except the armor, but when you have so many HP points as this thing, you don't really care about that. Against all of that, you have 7 guys. In most cases mix of good and bad players. So what they have? They have numbers, there are more of them of course, if we don't count bots, and mobility. That's pretty much everything they have, in my opinion at least. Later you have also better damage output. So mobility is great, but Waffenträger isn't slow, that's first thing. And secondly, later when he is alone and you have to kill it, he will camp somewhere where mobility doesn't mean anything, in some corner between the buildings or something like that. And well, what do you have then? You have numbers. But again, if he camps in a good place, he will have all of you somewhere around him, maybe from 3 or 2 sides. And for every shot you will probably get 1 shot back. I can also reduce their mobility with stun abilities. For me, all of this means that Waffenträger is too OP for what he is supposed to be. You fight not only against him, but also against time pressure and bots. Most, if not all, the games I won as Thunderbolt because Waffenträger sucked. He was bad. It wasn't about our team being good. It was about him being bad. That's why I think Waff should be nerfed. It should be maybe more of a close combat kind of a vehicle, with worse aim time, etc. Alternatively, Alliance should get something more than damage upgrade from energy packs. But that's my opinion. What do you think? Stay safe and see you again, guys.